Hi everybody, I'm back to do my last video of the day. Hopefully not of the year, although we can't quite discredit that either. That might end up happening. This time I'm doing my least favorite books of 2011. Unfortunately, I have even less to show you this time because some of my books that I really hated I put more towards the back of the shelf to hide them. And I can't get to them now without moving everything, and I don't want to make a mess. So, sorry, I only have about half to show you. First one is April Lady by Georgette Heyer. She also had one of my favorite books on the top 10 list. Okay, Georgette Heyer, most of her books are Regency romances, which are about a couple getting together. She has 4 books, though, that are about a couple pretty much falling in love after marriage. And this is one of them. This is right after I read the first of such books, The Convenient Marriages, back in December 2010. This I read in January 2011. The Convenient Marriage was the one I had read before, and I thought it had a charming beginning and a good promise, but then it ended up being annoying. This one didn't even have those good things about The Convenient Marriage. The couple in this has been married for a year, but yet they both, through misunderstandings, believe that the other one doesn't love them, and then there's all these wacky hijinks and stuff, and they get together at the end, blah blah blah. Okay, first of all, they've already been together for a year in this one, so it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of stupid. Second, the heroine is so extremely dumb. The other characters tell her to her face repeatedly that her husband loves her and he would not have married her if he didn't love her, but she still doesn't believe it. It's just so dumb, and I didn't really care. The other characters are annoying too. I just didn't like it. Sorry, Georgette Heyer, this is one of your few flukes. So, get rid of that. Second one I have, well, in alphabetical order, kind of, is The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. I can't reach it, it's over there. I included this in a short weekly review video back when I still used to do those. It is a young adult high fantasy novel, and it's considered a classic. It's from like the 80s, and it's supposed to be a classic. I just thought it was extremely boring. I thought the world was interesting and really well done and well thought out, but once like stuff supposedly started happening, it didn't really seem like anything was happening. And I felt like the heroine got a little bit to be on the Mary Sue-ish side. So I wasn't happy about that. It was boring. Sorry, Robin McKinley, but your classic was not a classic for me. Third one is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this because so many people love this book, but this is a young adult, it's like a Victorian fantasy book. Steampunk, I don't think it would be steampunk, it's more like fantasy, it has to do with like witchcraft and stuff like that. It really felt to me like these were people with modern sensibilities just stuck in period clothing. It missed the mark. I feel like if I were about 10 years younger, I would really like it. But as it is, it had some kind of interesting things happening. It wasn't entirely boring, but it didn't work for me as a whole. I feel like the characters were off. It didn't feel right. Next one is Foundling by D.M. Cornish. This is supposedly a young adult fantasy series about a boy with a girl's name, Rosamund, in a world that has like monsters in it. But I feel like it should have been more in the middle grade section, like for independent readers. It was just kind of too dull for me. It seemed more like it would appeal to 10-year-old boys. I don't know. I lost interest in it. I don't know what happened. I read the whole thing somehow, but I don't remember what happened really about, like, after about a third of the way through. Sorry. Number 5, I will probably also get a lot of hate for because this is a very popular book. But it is Graceling by Kristin Cashore. Oh my god. I made a video on this book already too. This was such a disappointment. I had extremely high hopes for this. It sounded so interesting. Like, you know, a heroine who is basically used as the hired thug for the king who just beat people up. But it was so, first of all, boring. It had a good premise, but it was written terribly. The writing sounded like a middle school girl wrote it. And then second, like, nothing happened. Most of it was traveling scenes, and I cannot stand books that just have traveling with nothing going on. I'm getting upset even thinking about it. Yeah, like I said, good idea, but it needed some editing very badly, and it needed to have some more stuff happening in the middle. Number 6 is Catherine by Anya Seton. This is a historical romance about Catherine of Swynford, who was a longtime mistress of one of the kings. I don't remember, or did he ever become king? I'm not sure, but he was the son of the king, I think. I'm forgetting already. In the 1300s, so like Middle Ages, and then they end up getting married. It's supposedly a really famous love story. But, and I really enjoyed another book by Anya Seton, Green Darkness. But this one, I didn't really, I don't know. I hated the characters in this one. And I didn't really like them in Green Darkness either, but I felt like it worked. This one, I felt like it was very well researched and very well written, but because I couldn't find anyone to sympathize with, I just didn't care what happened to them. I'm like, God, you guys are dumb. Just go jump off a cliff. I don't care. Number 7 is The Naming by Alison Croggon. And this is another extremely boring YA fantasy book. I bought this one for a stupid reason, because I thought the spine, like the designs on the spine of the series, is a quartet. I thought they looked very pretty, and I thought they would look nice on the shelf, so I bought the first one. Thankfully, I only bought the first one at that time, because I am not going to be reading the rest. Oh my god, was this so extremely boring. It was a traveling book with long, detailed, poetic descriptions of the landscape as the characters are going through it, with maybe a couple lines of dialogue that really don't advance anything, and then when stuff finally starts to happen at the end, it is extremely cliched and cheesy and stupid. Number 8 is, I couldn't decide, cross between 3 novellas by Elizabeth Gaskell. Why did I buy these when I had them on the e-reader? Because I like to have physical copies, because I like to waste my money. Yes, these are in the public domain. I had them for free, but I wanted to read the physical copies because I'm weird. Anyway, there is, first of all, Mr. Harrison's Confessions and My Lady Ludlow, along with Cranford in here, which I already have 2 copies of, and The Moorland Cottage. These were all used as inspiration for the 2 Cranford miniseries, along with the actual Cranford book itself. And I have read all of Elizabeth Gaskell's novels and her gothic short stories, so I wanted to also read the other inspirations for Cranford. Well, first of all, they were just all very boring, and I felt like the first Cranford miniseries did these stories better than Elizabeth Gaskell did. The second, Return to Cranford, I wasn't a fan of, and this one was the one that used the Moorland Cottage, and I didn't really care for the Moorland Cottage either. They were just all kind of boring. Number 9 is another book that I can't get at right now, is Perfect Chemistry by Simone Alcalez. This is a young adult contemporary romance. It's young adult chick lit. I knew that going in, but most of the reviews made it seem like I could like it. They're like, oh, this is cheesy and stupid, but I really liked it anyway because it was well done. I didn't fall into that category. I did not think it was well done. I thought it was extremely cheesy and stupid, and I don't like chick lit. I don't like chick flicks. I don't know, that kind of thing does not appeal to me. Maybe my brain is defective. I'm not a proper girl. I don't know. I did not like Perfect Chemistry at all. Okay, number 10 I do have is Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett. And this is his complete novels. There's like 5 books in here. They're all very short. I'm not going to open it. I wanted to read an American hard-boiled mystery because all I've really read is cozies. This really didn't seem like a good place to start. I didn't really care for this style of mystery. Maybe it was just this book. I don't know. I prefer the Agatha Christie style cozy whodunit. This was not very appealing to me, kind of on the boring side. So that is my top 10 bad books. I also have some runners-up. The first one is a duology, Incarceron and Safik by Catherine Fisher. This one did not make the worst list because I thought it was an extremely well done premise and the actual writing was very good. This is about a world that seems like a fantasy world, but it's actually a dystopian future where they kind of went back to old-fashioned ways, and there's also a prison that's alive. So half the characters are in the prison trying to get out, and half of them are outside. And it seems like, you know, everything's old-fashioned, everything, but it's really technology controlling all of that. So, which I thought was really original and really cool. But the books themselves, I can't say they were boring. That was not their fault. They weren't satisfying. They didn't explain anything. They just kind of left it to the reader like, oh, that outcome doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter. And I'm like, yes, it does. You can't set up all of these questions, like ask all these questions and set up all these storylines and then not answer them. It doesn't work that way. It feels incomplete to me. So, that's why it's a runner-up. Second is the first 2 books of the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. We have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and The Girl Who Played with Fire, because I've yet to read The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. Okay. I did not include these in the top 10 because the stories were actually interesting. But, and the characters, especially Lisbeth Salander, she is the girl of these titles. But the writing, something must have been lost in translation, so I granted that. But also, Stieg Larsson feels the need to include every single little detail of what is going on despite its relevance to the plot. It makes no difference if it's important. If he wants to write about the main character going to the coffee shop and buying a muffin, or getting a newspaper, or getting toilet paper at the grocery store, that's fine, but it doesn't make for an interesting book. That kind of stuff should be left out. Also, the main character, Michael Blomkvist, is kind of like a author of wish fulfillment fantasy. It kind of seems like he is the stud guy, he's an all-around great guy, and he gets to sleep with all the women everywhere. I just kind of rolled my eyes at that. Interesting stuff going on, but yeah, it was the writing that dragged it down a little bit for me. And from what I hear of the third one, Hornet's Nest, it just drags on and on and on. And I want to read it, but I keep putting it off. I have seen the original Swedish versions of these 2 movies. I'm not going to watch Hornet's Nest until I read that one. I want to see the American one because I hear that's good too. They include a lot of the they exclude some of the draggy stuff from the books, so I feel like that will definitely be a good thing. Next one of the runners-up is Haunting Violet by Alexandra Harvey, I believe is the author. Sorry if I have that wrong. This is a young adult kind of paranormal-ish book. It's set in Victorian England about a girl whose mother is a fraud. She is a fake medium, and she uses her daughter to help her in her schemes to trick rich people out of their money by pretending she can talk to their dead loved ones. Except then Violet finds out that maybe she is a real medium, and she can talk to the dead, and there's a dead girl who supposedly drowned, but now it seemed like, hey, she might have been murdered, and maybe Violet can help solve the murder mystery. So it seemed like a really cool concept, but I feel like, one, it would have been more interesting for younger readers, like maybe age 12. A little bit too immature for me. Second, poorly historically researched. While I feel like the characters themselves were fine enough, there were all these stupid mistakes that could have been so easily corrected, like names, titles of characters. Like, every titled male in this book seems to be an earl. Then there's an earl named Lord Jasper. No, that's not right. An earl would never be Lord first name. Second, the younger brother of an earl, Mr. Wentworth or whatever, is for some reason called Sir Wentworth. That would not be right either. Either you would never do Sir last name. It just doesn't work. And even if he had been knighted or titled on his own, despite, his older brother, he would not be that way. And I'm not an expert at all. I only know what I've learned from reading, like, classic British lit and watching period dramas and stuff like that. I'm not a scholar by any means. All of this stuff could have been so easily fixed. It was just lazy. Last runner-up is The 5 Red Herrings by Dorothy L. Sayers. This is another author who also had a book on my favorites list. The reason why The 5 Red Herrings is not a favorite is because I love Dorothy L. Sayers' books for their vivid, lifelike characters. The problem with this one is there's 6 murder suspects, and obviously 5 are red herrings. All the murder suspects, and even the victim in a way, were kind of interchangeable. You didn't really get to know them that much. They pretty much seemed like it didn't make a difference to me who the murderer was, because they're all pretty much the same guy anyway. That's it. So that was a bit of a letdown for me, but thankfully her other books made up for it. That is sadly the last of my least favorite books of last year. I'm tired. I have so much to do to get ready for school tomorrow. Hopefully I will be able to make more videos soon. Anyway, you guys have a great 2012. I will definitely try to. I hope I'll be able to make more videos.